Hey, welcome back, folks. Hopefully we have lots who can participate in these discussions. Let's go to the next slide. I'm just going to give you a little bit of information now about the breakouts. There will be two of them. One will be on sampling. I'll be the moderator in that one, and Claire will be joining us there. And in the other breakout, Julie will be moderating discussion of curation issues, and Brian will be joining her there as well. So goals for this are to discuss the sampling priorities, sample types, sampling methods, and sample curation for crewed Artemis missions. And again, as I mentioned before, to generate two deliverables. That's what will come out of this. One will be a document that really talks about the sample collection priorities, and again, types, methods, and sample curation requirements. And then we'll also have a list of questions, comments, and concerns regarding the sampling and curation of samples during the Artemis missions. And I think we've heard a lot of really good input in the presentations today, so there'll be no dearth of material. And again, the deliverables will be given to NASA headquarters, to science, curation, and human spaceflight communities for incorporation into Artemis mission planning. And, you know, even things like we've heard in the chat from Dean Epler a number of times about the importance of, and from speakers about the importance of astronaut training. So, you know, we'll want to include things like that into our discussion of sampling and curation issues. Go to the next slide. So in this, the moderators will begin with just a brief introduction to the topic. The facilitators will be taking notes. You know, again, this is redundant, but it's worth emphasizing that we have been asked as the science community to contribute to Artemis mission planning, and this is our opportunity to do it. This will be, again, synthesized into information that we'll provide to the planners. So when you're in the breakout discussions, there will be two options. One is to unmute yourself and sort of verbally but respectfully participate in the discussion. This has gone very well in previous sessions, so I'm not worried about it. You may also, especially if you're having trouble getting an audio link, type your question or comment into the chat window. In this case, I think it will be the Teams chat window, and we'll make sure it gets discussed or addressed and also recorded. There will be a continuation of this discussion that will take place online. There will be a website sent around after the completion of this workshop, and just similar to the previous edition of the workshop, we'll keep this going, and that should be available in you know, within a couple of weeks, I think. Next slide. So just to give a preview in the sampling breakout, we'll be talking about things such as what are the science priorities for sampling, what new field analytical methods should be employed to assist sampling by the astronauts, and what other considerations might there be. What are some of the engineering priorities? We heard about some of this: physical properties, ISRU, construction, etc. for sampling. What's the right mix of rock versus regolith versus rake or sieved rock materials versus core samples? Versus others, such as cryogenics. And so what are the curation considerations that would factor into our collection of polar samples? Maybe things like capturing volatiles that are released, or sealing cores on the lunar surface, or perhaps some cryogenic kind of thing. Next, please. So in curation, questions or issues such as contamination concerns in sample collection, containment, and curation both during and post-flight, material selection for sample collection tools, for containers and curation, revisiting Apollo and discussing new materials, volatile sample collection, storage, transport, and curation. What are the top concerns from the community? Science measurements the community plans to make on the samples, and what could derail the efforts, and things like contamination. And top science priorities from the community. So you see, we'll be discussing, we'll have some crossover in the two sessions, and Julie and I will, working with the facilitators, integrate these things back together. Next, please. Okay, so please choose one of these two breakouts. The Microsoft Teams links have been circulated to those who were registered for the workshop, I believe. And room number 1 will be sampling, room number 2, curation. So hopefully you've got those links. And we will, importantly, we will return to this WebEx link at 4:40 Eastern Time for a brief breakout report and wrap up. So hopefully we'll see as many of you as possible back here at that time. Julie, is there anything you want to add?
Nope, I think you covered it.
Okay, so in that case, we will meet then at in about 4 minutes or so. I see the timer there. In about 4 minutes, hopefully we'll meet in the breakout rooms. We'll wait a couple of minutes to make sure we've got everybody, and then we'll start in on those sessions.